Good evening, everybody. Welcome to an OCS 2025 OCS special event. I am Dan Tartaglione, also known as DTartag1. Joining me tonight is nobody, because Garrett is actually doing another game on his Twitch channel, so thank you all for joining me tonight. Tonight we have the second of our top 16 matches. This one is on going to be on light side. We have Pat Johnson facing off against Jeff Lavigne. Again, both these players, they both made the top 16. Pat decided to go with Jeff as his opponent in the first round. And here we are. Both players are in GEMP, so we should be able to go ahead and get this game going up and get this ready. And we are back. Thank you, Large Pog. Just as a little bit of a administrative note, Pat Johnson is down by -5 on his whatever life force he ends up with right now due to a deck list error. Unfortunately, he submitted a light side with 59 cards in it, not 60. So Pat is going to be on the light side to start off with. Go fitting. And we are ready. Jeff waiting around in chat as well. They were both waiting on me. I had to go console my teammate, Bat Mouse, on his misplays at the end of the game against Casey. So here we go. Pat again playing light side. Jeff is going to be playing on dark side to start off. And both players are ready and set. And here we go. So Jeff going with, no surprise here, the first order reigns. Pat going with watch your step. Okay, normal starting locations for both decks. Prepared our defenses and heading for the medical frigates for both players. Jeff going with bow to the first order. I will finish what you started, and Navy of the first order. Pat, I must be allowed to speak, and Smuggler's Blues, Squadron Assignments, and good old Walkling. Nothing beats Walkling. And again, Jeff starting off getting 8 cards activation. As we do see Jeff activate 9, you're welcome, John. Interesting to see Jeff not going out and pulling the finalizer. There's his grabber already. Pat getting his grabber out as well. There's the useless gesture in Death Star Sentry Shield from Jeff. Now, this first order deck, while your starships have a lot of power, the one thing they don't do is they don't generally draw a lot of destiny. So watch your step being that you have a plethora of smugglers, and you could probably drop 1 or 2 of them onto a ship. You can easily set yourself up to draw multiple destiny in a battle. There's the Create Outpost Entrance Cavern. And Lieutenant Destiny 6 will be flashed in grabbing Jeff a starship. And he misses on all the big ones and gets the Kylo Ren command shuttle. Now that's going to get Jeff Kylo Ren. So we do see Kylo Ren, Master of the Knights of Ren, going down. Then there's the bow to pull a card out of the use pile. Mr. Schoenthal, thank you for subscribing for 32 months. And, ooh, big card for Jeff right off the bat is the Coarse and Rough and Irritating. As we see, I've Lost R2 and Lieutenant Destiny 6 being stacked onto it. Hosting Prime making an entrance for Jeff as well. No lightsaber on Kylo. That's a little interesting, but Kylo does hop out of his shuttle. And the shuttle does take off, so Jeff's threatening a little bit of damage on Pat's next turn, as we see an all wings and report in from Pat. And now if Pat is able to go and fight the shuttle, that could be good for him. Chad, thank you for subscribing for 40 months. Last time I checked, 40 was greater than 32. So, Chris, you need to make up some ground, sir. And Pat will grab the Millennium Falcon and kiss my Wookiee. Is that Wayne up to 44 months? Wow, everybody's coming in tonight. Pat activates his 12 cards. That's not Carl, that's Chad, I believe. Carl is Crazy Carl. You should know that difference. Pat using Watch Your Step to go get himself Corellia or Kessel, and he misses on both of them, so Jeff gets a free verify. Pat going to use the Smuggler, I Must Be Allowed to Speak, and Smuggler's Blues. There's Mos Eisley V. I will not confirm or deny. We see Mara Jade going down to the Cantina. Again, that's going to allow Pat a used pile pool. So both players already getting some used pile pools out of their decks. Pat taking a card again, still deliberating on what he wants out of those 5 cards team. Now, Pat still has 7 cards in his force pile, so he can still do a lot here. You know, Chris, Ohio State fans are the same as Dodger fans. Again, Pat is just taking his time, thinking about what he wants to take. He's got, again, only 5 cards to choose from at this point. Garrett, shouldn't you be streaming the other game, Bat Mouse versus Casey? That's a good point. Okay, so Pat has decided on his card at this point. So there's the Corellia system. I wonder if that's the card that he chose with Mara Jade. Did Batmouse, please tell me Batmouse flew out to cook you dinner. That would be awesome of him. As we see Wedge Antilles get revealed. And Wedge and the Pulsar State will go down to Corellia. As we see in the chat, Garrett Larson might be soon embodying his screen name of Dead Body by threatening Chris Schoenthal with some really bad stuff. I can see the next time we see Chris giving Garrett some a few choice words. Oh, Garrett, don't listen to Garrett. Chris, don't listen to Garrett. He can't do anything to you. He's just a figment of our imagination. As we see, Jeff does go to drain at crate. Pat will play control and tunnel vision to cancel it. There's a drain of 1 at the crate system. Pat will not cancel that one, but he will lose quite a Mercenary V from his hand. Jeff will utilize his objective to go get himself a Battleground, an Episode 7 Battleground, including a system or a site, his choice. Have fun, Garrett, and don't continue to anger Chris Schoenthal. He knows where you live. As we see, Jeff pulls out the salt flats. So, and there's the lightsaber on to Kylo Ren. Not sure who's salty at this point, but it probably is Garrett Larson. And we see that Jeff is going to take the finalizer. So he does have 14 Force to work with. So we might see him go. No, he's just going to go General Hux and the finalizer to crate with the shuttle. So again, that's going to get him a use pile pool from Bow to the First Order. Now Jeff very quickly takes the card that he wants into hand. I didn't realize that Mr. Large Porg was a poet. I guess we didn't know it. As we see the finalizer, the Kylo Ren shuttle hops on into the finalizer, and we see that the finalizer moves on over to the car, activating Jeff some force. As we see Lieutenant Destiny 6 hops off the shuttle and now becomes a pilot of the finalizer. The shuttle moves out of the finalizer, increasing Jeff's total power there to 20. Again, we brought this up a little earlier that the power difference in this deck is pretty significant. This Dark Side First Order deck is really able to go put a lot of power up in space. It actually can do a little bit of power up down on the ground too, especially with the new walkers in the deck that you can actually play from the 7 side of your objective. So we see there's Drina 2, and Jeff will lose Lieutenant Destiny 6 out of his hand, and a Lieutenant Destiny 6 off the top of his deck. Being that he plays the Tauntaun Skull, Jeff is more than happy to see those 2 cards go to his loss pile. Now, I do not know if he is playing Tauntaun Skull, but I'm just assuming at this point. Unfortunately, Chris will not let me see the deck list, as he believes in having the streamers be surprised on stream. So we are into Pat's deploy phase. Now, he's got 6 cards in his hand, but he's got 18 force to work with this turn. I don't think that the Pulsar Escape with Wedge Antilles is going to initiate a battle against the Finalizer and the Shuttle. Mostly the Finalizer, but the Shuttle can do some damage up there. As we see the Outrider. There's the Outrider from Pat's hand. And Pat looking through his reserve deck. He's looking for a Dash Rendar. Now he might be running Lebo, but it's probably going to be a Dash Rendar. And we do see the Dash Rendar get deployed in front of the Finalizer. The Dash Rendar Outrider combo. Just like in the video games. Not to be confused by the movies. And there's a barrier from Jeff. Pat will grab it. So the Dash Rendar Outrider combo will not be able to battle or move this turn. Talon card going down in front with Mara Jade, just like in the books, not to be confused with the video games. As we see, Pat will go and pull a card from his use pile this turn. And being that the Outrider can't move away, we're probably going to see Pat try and go get something to allow the Outrider to stick around and battle a little bit longer. Maybe Mirax. I don't think it will be Mirax, just because you normally want to put her on the Pulsar Skate at a Tatooine location so you can get a use pile pool. But again, there's a reason why Pat is in the top 16, and I'm sitting here with my pretty little face doing commentary for all you fine Star Wars aficionados. Again, Pat is taking a look at and seeing what is in his use pile at this point. Just taking a little bit of a... He's taking a little bit of his time here, seeing about what he wants to take. And Pat has decided. So he is still in his deploy phase at this point, so can probably reinforce the Outrider and Pulsar Skate. And yep, there is Rio Durant. As we'll see him activate some more force after deploying a Smuggler to the Outrider. And it will give him 8 cards to work with this turn. Now, he's only got 3 cards left in his hand, though. And again, we don't know if he took Rio Durant with his use pile pool. And we're just going to see Pat draw some cards. So right now, Jeff is threatening a drain of 3 at the entrance cavern. And we do know that a control tunnel vision is on Jeff's grabber. Pat does save 2 force this turn. So we probably will see the drain of 3 go through. As we see there, Jeff activates, drains for 2. There's a drain of 3 with the lightsaber. Pat will lose Nia Nub, Blast the Door Kid, and a Luke with lightsaber off the top. Jeff going to look through his reserve deck with his objective. And Jeff giving a verify over to Pat. As we see, General Hux is going to go and grab Captain Phasma. Now, I did mention this earlier that this Dark Side deck doesn't do a lot of like multiple destinies up in space. This is actually one of the few ways it can do it. Is if you put Captain Phasma or Amplak up in space with Phasma, you need a Stormtrooper, specifically a Force. I believe it's just a First Order Stormtrooper. Nope, any Stormtrooper. She will add a Destiny. So that works both on the ground and in space. As we see, Jeff will reveal Captain Modin Candy. Not to be confused with his brother-in-law, John. As we see the Finalizer and the Captain go to Crate. Interesting to see that they did not go to Dakar. Well, actually, no, they can't be deployed to Dakar. That's right. I corrected myself there. Thank you. And there is Mr. Crazy Carl himself, your newest advocate. Carl has been inducted into the advocacy. He is the new marketing advocate after his tireless effort in making Karelia probably one of the best and the biggest regions out there. So if you have any questions with the marketing team, if you have any issues with the prizes, see Carl. He's in charge of all that now. Garrett, get out of the chat, sir. Go back to Minnesota. You're with your ice hockey and frozen lakes and other silliness. Yes, Carl is the new Jared. And Jared is the old Carl, I think. Back to the game, we see Captain Phasma get deployed down to the location with Kylo Ren. Again, that is going to give Jeff a use pile pool. And Jeff takes his card out of his use pile. He had 12 cards to choose from. He's only got 11 left as we see a First Order Stormtrooper go down to the location with Captain Phasma. Jeff putting a claim onto that location at this point. As we see the Steadfast will move over to Dakar. Jeff with 32 power up there right now. Kylo slides on over to the Salt Plateau. Now, he isn't on the 7 side of his objective, but one that makes it a drain of 2 and a drain of 2 there. But once we see Jeff flip, Kylo at the Salt Flats can be quite a bit of or the Salt Plains or Plateau or whatever they're called, Salt Flats. That's quite a bit of problem for your light side player. As we see, Pat activates 17 Force. Probably going to see, yep, Pat will pay, not have to pay, but he will drain for 2 at the Cantina. As we see a Trooper Assault and Lieutenant Destiny 6 both go lost. I don't think that's a bad idea, Garrett, but I mean, also you should be focusing on the KC Batmouse match. Or are they still dilly-dallying? Pat will peek at Jeff's hand and he'll show Allegiant General Pride off. I do not know, Mr. Talon. Pat has decided that he wants to keep this secret. As we see, there's the Menace Fades. Now, again, we do know that Halcyon Prime is on the table. So, I believe once Jeff, if he's able to control that location, that essentially turns off Menace Fades. While your Episode 7 objective on table and your First Order leader here, Menace Phase is suspended. Not canceled, just suspended. So now, again, Garrett pointing out in the chat that Pat can simply just kind of split up in space and then cancel a lot of the damage that Jeff is doing. It's probably going to be, it might only be for 1 turn, but we'll see if that is enough. I would, if I was Pat, I do like the idea of going to Halcyon Prime at this point. Especially because I don't think a lot of those ships can make it. Dakar is parsec of 5. Halcyon Prime's a 1, so the Steadfast cannot make it. Yeah, the Steadfast can't make it. The Finalizer can't make it. Even the Shuttle can't make it. So if Jeff would essentially have to deploy there to turn off the Menace Fades. So good turn for Pat getting that out there. But we still are in Pat's deploy phase. Oh, the Navy gives it +1. I thought so. And Hyperspeed +1. Yep. I can't ready the Navy. I was in the Air Force, Phil. Big difference. Huge difference. As we see, there's the Millennium Falcon from Pat. And he's going to look for Solo here at this point. Or even a Chewie. Chewie would work as well. And Pat, again, looking through his reserve deck at this point still. And, yep, Chewie coming down in front of all that stack at Dakar. Interesting. Again, Pat would normally be getting 2 Destiny there. However, and we see another barrier from Jeff. We do know that Jeff has 2 cards on Coarse and Rough and Irritating. Not to be confused with Dodger fans. Rio Durant will activate 2 by putting a card back into Pat's use pile. And Luke with Lightsaber going down in front of Phasma and the First Order Stormtrooper. Val going down as well. And Corran Horn. Now, I know that Pat is playing Luke with Lightsaber. I wonder if he's playing Sorry About the Mess. Pat only with 3 cards in hand. Jeff 7. And Pat will initiate. There's the Trooper Assault. Now, Jeff is not getting 2 Battle Destinies in this battle because Phasma is only with... Phasma has ability of 2. The Stormtrooper has ability of 1. So that does not equal to 4 or greater. But they are getting a Destiny because of Phasma. The Trooper Assault makes them all immune to attrition and power +2. Val takes a shot at the First Order Stormtrooper. That 4 will hit the Trooper with his defense value of 1. And his forfeit value is reduced down to 0. Luke will take a swing at Captain Phasma. Draws a 1 for Destiny. And a 2. That's going to miss Phasma. And again, she is fully immune to attrition here. Jeff putting a Lieutenant Destiny 6 out of play with the Tauntaun Skull to add 7 to his power because General Hux is on the table. So Jeff is power 19 to pass 9. There's the card off of Course, Rough, and Irritating. So both players only getting 1 Destiny now, and he takes the I've Lost R2. That's big. Pat draws a 4 for his Battle Destiny, bringing his total up to 13. Jeff draws a 1 for Battle Destiny because of General Hux. General Hux normally would add +1 to it, but because of Core Disrupts and Irritating, he is only Destiny 1. Again, Jeff is fully immune. Pat has to lose 7 into battle damage and 1 from the site. So he'll lose Val, who takes up 6 of it. There goes the Stormtrooper. And he'll lose a Blast the Door kit as well off the top of his use pile. Now, Pat's in a little bit of a predicament here. Being that the Chewie was buried, he can't move that. He's only got 2 force at this point. So, either he abandons the Chewie in the Falcon, or everybody stays there, and we know that Jeff has an I've Lost R2 in his hand. And Pat will circulate and pass over to Jeff. Now, again, Menace Phase, while it is on the table, it is not in effect. So, Pat is going to take 2 to the drain at the Salt Plateau. That was not the best kind of a turn for Pat. As we see in All Wings Report In and Control Tunnel Vision both go off the top of the reserve deck. Missing Phasma with the Luke's lightsaber was kind of big. Jeff checking out his deck at this point. He's got currently is 23 to 25. As we see Jeff play the Force Push here. Now he's going to essentially exchange 3 cards for 1 card out of his reserve or his force pile. It's a fun little objective, but it definitely needs to be tweaked a little bit, as evidence of we saw at Worlds. I know that Bill Kafer has been talking about it after Worlds, so it's interesting to see what design and the competitive balance team will come up with. So again, Jeff looking at his deck, or his force pile here. He changes 2 cards with 1 card in his force pile. As we see the Force Push go lost. No, Nia Nub is actually in the lost pile. As we see, Jeff will show Allegiant General Pride to go get himself a ship. Will we see the Supremacy here? This could be really bad for Pat. Now, all those smugglers up in space do have a lot of forfeit value. Yep, there's the Supremacy going to Crate. Now, again, they cannot go to Dakar due to the objective. As we see FN 2003 go down. With Cardo, again, now Jeff is getting to Battle Destiny to Pat's 1. Pat will play an interrupt out of his lost pile, and he'll play Blast the Door Kid to cancel the battle. As the interrupt will be stacked onto the defensive shield. Now, Jeff can move the Supremacy to Dakar and activate some force. Again, the movement is free, and now Jeff gets to activate 2 cards, and he'll draw some cards, getting to 3 cards in his hand. Both players only have 3 cards in their hand at this point. But interesting to see that Jeff did not play I've Lost R2 to make it so that one of those starships would have to stick around for Pat. Maybe this is the card that he put back, or maybe he just wants to leave it alone. But yep, in the chat, Jeff pointing out that he's got 48 power up there in space. Yeah, 48 is pretty big, especially when you have double what your opponent has. Pat drains for 2 at the Cantina. Jeff will lose a Trooper Assault and Tauntaun Skull, both off the top of his reserve deck. Talon card takes a look at and sees what is in Jeff's hand. We do see that one of the cards is a First Order Stormtrooper. Again, this is game 1, and Pat Johnson, prior to the game, had to take a -5 differential penalty due to a deck list error. So Pat thinking about what he wants to do here. He is in his control phase at this moment. And Pat is going to play a card from his lost pile. He'll play the Controlled Tunnel Vision. He'll take a card out of his force pile after he pays 2 force. Okay, Pat currently thinking about what he wants to take out of his deck. And he has his choice of 15 cards from there. Okay, Pat will take a card. He's got 4 cards in his hand at this moment. Pat showing Han Solo. Again, he will miss the pool with squadron assignments. However, that does give him a verify, as we see him take I Don't Need Their Scum into hand, to take the Hoochix and Out of Nowhere into hand. Han Solo hops onto the Millennium Falcon. I will say Pat actually does play a little bit of his own little flavor. If I remember correctly, looking at the list, there was it wasn't necessarily a net decked Watcher Step. And as you see, Pat will put the Walkling out of play. That will allow him to retrieve 1. He'll retrieve the All Wings combo. Carl, unfortunately, with you becoming an advocate now, you're reduced down to playing silly cards and not winning events. As we see, there's the secret plans from Jeff. And Pat is just going to move some of his starships around, and he's going to spread out. Interesting to see that he did not decide to move the tracked fleet. Okay, so the track fleet is blown up. That will flip Jeff. Jeff activates all but 3. Actually, he activates everything that he can. Drains for 1 at the salt plateau. Again, his drone bonuses are null and void, as we see Pat will lose a Jedi Brazilians from hand. Drains for 1 at Dakar. As we see an old Ben go lost. Jeff checking out and seeing what is in his reserve deck at this point. He's only got 3 cards left. Now he's going to pull a non-unique trooper from his lost pile and deploy it. Going down with Phasma. Jeff, with 3 cards in his hand at this point, still is thinking about what he wants to do here. Taking his time. And we know that Pat has the Hujix combo in his hand at this point. And we also know that Pat has 4 cards saved in his force pile, so he probably has something to avoid this battle if he is going to battle here. But Jeff is taking some time here, and he's not going to deploy anything else. He goes into his battle phase, and we do see a fight at the entrance cavern. Pat will play a interrupt from his lost pile, as we see there goes another Blast the Door Kid. It's going to cost him 3 force to play that. And again, that is going to cancel the battle. So at this point, I think we're going to see Jeff move his space fleet around a little bit. Jeff is in his move phase at this point. Now, Jeff needs to turn off the menace fades. Once he does, he can actually start doing a little bit more damage to Pat. So it's just going to be interesting to see how he moves his space fleet here to turn off the menace fades and to try and block some of the damage that Pat can do to him. Okay, so we do see the command shuttle hop onto the finalizer. That fleet at Dakar goes from 48 power to 44. General Pride hops on from the Supremacy to the finalizer. As we see the finalizer move on over to Hosian Prime, and there goes the menace fades. It is now suspended. So we see Lieutenant General Pride, or Allegiant General Pride, General Hux, and Lieutenant Destiny 6 are at Hosian Prime on the finalizer. And then we see the Supremacy and the Steadfast move on, blocking that drain at Crate. Now again, with that Outrider almost at full power, Pat's going to be able to subtract 10 from whatever power Jeff has up there. So it would be 12 to 10 essentially. And Pat is getting 2 Destiny up there. Now the other thing is Pat has I cannot think of it for the life of me. Somebody tell me what the card is. It's a Dagobah card. Makes your starship immune to attrition, and if it's piloted by a Carillion, power +2. Go. First one to tell me it will... Thank you, Tom. You didn't even let me tell you what you were going to get. But now you get my admiration. Carl, you're too slow. I'm sorry, sir. Pat will drain for 2 at the Cantina. As we see a First Order Stormtrooper and an Imperial Decree go lost. Punch It adds where Lando is. If he's piloting the Falcon, you get 2. You add 2 Battle Destiny, and it's a fully immune to Falcon. And it's Cloud City, so Carl's got you there. Drains for 1. Oh, and we do see that Jeff has the I've Lost R2 in his hand. There's the ultimatum from Pat. And aim high. Both players with 5 cards in their hand. Pat with 21 in life force to Jeff's 15. And because Pat has a -1 already, or I'm sorry, -5 penalty in this, essentially he's up by 1. And I don't think he drained at, or no, he cannot drain at Corellia because of the 7th side of the objective. While you control the Salt Plateau, or while Kylo occupies the Salt Plateau, opponent may not force drain where their character or permanent pilot is alone. Wedge is by himself on the Pulsar Skate, so he's not able to drain there. So we do go into Pat's deploy phase as we see R2-D2V hop on as a passenger, increasing the power there to 12. Again, the finalizer is only immune to attrition less than 5 up there because there is no Captain Peavy. As Pat is still in his deploy phase. Lando Calrissian, the captain, Lando Calrissian, goes down in front of Kylo Ren. Possibly going to see Kylo Ren, or I'm sorry, probably going to see Corran Horn and Luke move over in front of Kylo Ren. If that's the case, then we're probably going to see Pat try and get that last card off of the sand effect, and yet Pat will initiate Up in Space, the Outrider versus the Finalizer and Kylo Ren's command ship. There's the reduction by 12 on the Finalizer. Now, if Jet has a Tauntaun Skull here, he could put Lieutenant Destiny 6 out of play to add 7 to his total power. But nothing yet from either player after the reduction in the Finalizer's power. Jeff probably thinking if he wants to take that last card off, of course, and rough and irritating. Now the question is, if he takes it off of there, does Pat have the all wings report in? As we see, there's a Destiny. Pat draws a 6 for his first Destiny. And he's going to play an interrupt from Lost Pile, heading to the medical frigate out of play. However, it is stacked on a useless sister in the Death Star Sentry Shield. And there's the all wings combo to make it a Destiny of 8. So that's going to be 15 for Pat. As Jeff draws a 2 for his Battle Destiny, with the Outriders currently immune, he's down by power. Jeff is currently down by 16 in power, and 15 to attrition. Tom, he had nothing to play the command on. Captain Peavy is the only admiral up there. And he's not on the table right now. So now Jeff is going to have to lose 15 into attrition. And 16 in battle damage. As a lone outrider was able to maneuver its way to taking down some of the characters on the finalizer. As we see General Hux go lost, and General Hux has his forfeit value decreased because Allegiant General Pride is on the table. Lieutenant Destiny 6 goes lost. There goes Legion General Pride, and the Menace Fades is back in session. Jeff still owes 5 into attrition, and there goes the finalizer. That is a big turn of events. As Pat will go into his move phase. We'll see Luke move, Cornhorn move, and I do like that Jeff did not take the last card off of Course Rough and Irritating, because now he will save that for the potential battle at the Salt Plateau. As we see the Millennium Falcon will move on over to Corellia. As Pat does go into his draw phase, and he will draw some cards. So again, Pat is only going to be losing 2 cards to Jeff's Force Drains next turn. I guess you could say the P in PMJ stands for patience. As Pat is still in his draw phase here. Takes a card into hand. Jeff will use Control and Set for Stun to try and remove Dash Rendar. He does draw 4, and that's going to bounce Dash back to Pat's hand. Huge turn of events. Pat saving 6 cards in his force pile, though. Jeff activates 11, saving 3. So now the Outrider will not be able to draw Destiny. That's important. Jeff again drains for 1 at Crate. Pat will lose Choke from off the top of the reserve deck. Drains for 1 at the Entrance Cavern. Malos goes off the top to that drain. Both players with only 4 cards in their hand. Jeff at 15 in life force to Pat's 18. Now, what's interesting is, actually, no, Pat can still drain at Halcyon Prime if Jeff moves away, because Rio Durant is not, I believe he's not alone there. R2-D2 covers that. As we see Aplak go down in front of Mara Jade and Talon Card. FN 2199 comes down as well. As we see Jeff go into his battle phase. Where is Jeff going to fight? Jeff will not fight. He's going to move Cardo in front with move him over with Kylo Ren. The Steadfast will fly on over to Dakar. The command shuttle will join it, moving away from Halcyon Prime. And the Supremacy will fly on over to Tatooine. Jeff will recirculate, pay the 1 upkeep on Aplak, and pass turn over to Pat. Pat into his activate phase, thinking about what he wants to do. He's going to save. He's going to activate everything but 3. That's going to be activating 9. So he's going to have 15 cards to work with. There's a drain of 2 at Corellia. Again, because Han Solo is piloting the Millennium Falcon. We see Kylo Ren and Sniper Darkstripe both go lost. And there's the drain at Halcyon Prime. We see Force Push and Tauntaun Skull go lost. As we see Talon Card looking at a card in Jeff's hand, we do see that I've lost R2, so Jeff is clearly holding on to that card. Pat goes into his deploy phase. There's Dash Rendar hopping on to the Outrider. Pat with 3 cards in hand, Jeff's 2. We are into Pat's battle phase. And we go into his move phase. See Pat move the Outrider to Dakar. And the Millennium Falcon over in front of the Steadfast. Interesting to see the Outrider move over to Dakar, only because it's only a drain of 1 there. As we see, the Pulsar Skate will join the Millennium Falcon at Tatooine. Mara Jade moves away from the Cantina. talent card as well. And Pat is going to draw some cards. I'm agreeing with you, Carl. I do think that the Mara Jade and Town card felt a little safe there. You easily could have left the Pulsar Skate at Corellia to keep the, if you're going to move the Town card and the Mara Jade. I think at this point Pat is being a little too safe. That's just me. I think he's playing to try and not lose versus winning. But you're correct. They are going to be drains of 2 and 2. That's the other thing, is it could be it very well could be its worse. Or it could be worse. Jeff activates 6, saving 3/4 in his reserve deck. Oh, Robbie. You make me giggle. There's a drain of 3 at the Cantina. However, because Ultimatum is on the table, and we do see there is the It Could Be Worse. I think I would have taken that one, and It Could Be Worse the other one, just because they're both going to be 2. And you would not have to pay for the 3. Actually, no, they're both 3 and 3. But okay, so there goes the drain of 2 at the entrance cavern. For some reason, I thought the entrance cabin worked. It was just a drain of +1 from the objective. +1 if Kylo was there. As we see, all wings report in, and I don't need their scum either. Both go lost. Jeff with a 5, a 6, and a 1 in his reserve deck. Information from Pat Johnson. Jeff only with 2 cards in hand at this point. Jeff getting a non-unique Stormtrooper from his lost pile onto the table. As we see the Stormtrooper go on to the Supremacy. Interesting. As we see Jeff go into his move phase. The shuttle will hop into the Steadfast. Let's see, the Steadfast will join the Supremacy over at Tatooine. Will we see the Supremacy move? We will not. As Jeff will draw some cards and then pass turn over to Pat, paying the 1 for the Aplak. As we see Jeff with 6 cards in hand and 7 in Life Force. Pat activates everything. He's got 15 in Life Force, 4 in hand. Drains for 2 at Dakar. As we see Captain Phasma and another First Order Stormtrooper both go lost. Both from Jeff's hand. Drains for 1 at Mos Eisley. And the Fulminatrix will go lost at this point. And for the 3rd time, we will see that same I've lost R2. As we are now in Pat's move phase, the Falcon will move over to Crate. The Skate will move with it. As Luke, Corran Horn, and Lando will move over to block the drain at the entrance cavern. I think you're right there, Tom. Yeah, Pat was clearly tracking to get to the It Could Be Worse. As we see him draw some cards, he saves 12 force in his Life Force. Jeff will be draining Pat for 2, 2, and 1 at this point. And we know one of the cards in Pat's hands. And Batmouse has won the game. Did he win the match, though? That's the important thing. As we see, Pat will play the It Could Be Worse, reducing that drain of 2 to a drain of to 0 force loss. The It Could Be Worse will go to the use pile. Drains for 2 at Tatooine. Thank you. Kessel will go lost. And they're tracking us both from Pat's hand. And there's a drain of 1 at the Salt Plateau. Again, Jeff activated everything this turn. And again, it is only a drain of 1, even though Jeff attempted to add with the Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Pat losing It's a Hit from his hand. Is there something that makes that drain immune to it can be canceled? Oh yes, while resistance is doomed on table, force drains here may not be canceled or reduced. I answered my own question. So I think that's what Pat is looking at right now, although Action does appear to be on Jeff at this point. Both players with only 3 cards in their hand. You know, I look at screens all day. I don't want to read too much, Carl. Robbie, I know you're talking about yourself, but it's okay. I know you're from Texas and all. I joke because I love. Again, Jeff is in his deploy phase at this point. He's got he's only got 3 cards in his hand. Pat, 3 cards in his hand and 13 in his life force. Again, action is on Jeff Lavigne at this point. And Jeff will use 1 to move Cardo over in front of Luke, Court Horn, and Captain Lando Calrissian. The Supremacy will block the drain at Crate. The final of the Steadfast will also move over. And the Command Shuttle will move over as well. And Jeff will draw a card, saving 1 to pay for Aplak, and saving 1 and ending his turn. Pat will recirculate. Pat activates everything, drains for 2 at Dakar. There goes Lieutenant Destiny 6 and an Imperial Barrier, both from Jeff's hand. Drains for 1 at Mos Eisley. As we see the Supreme Leader Snoke go lost. And again, Talon Card really likes looking at that I've lost R2. That is the 4th time this game that Talon Card has revealed that card. So far, you've picked it 4 times, Pat. 4. The magic number tonight is 4. Both players having a little bit of a break, laughing about the fact that Talon Card likes 1 card and 1 card only. As we see Elros Medak go get onto the Pulsar Skate. And Luke, Cornhorn, and Captain Solo both move over in front of Kylo Ren. As we see the Millennium Falcon, the Outrider, and the Pulsar Skate all are at Corellia, Halcyon Prime, and Dakar, keeping that Menace Fades nicely intact. Jeff drains for 1 at Crate. There goes an All-Wings report in from hand. Drains for 1 at the Outpost. As we see the Hujiks go lost. Jeff hasn't drained at the cantina yet, so it is possible he tracked around to it. He still has 1 card in his hand, Carl. And I think at this point that's what Jeff's actually thinking about. So there's the drain of 2 at the cantina. No, he's going to lose dodge and moving to attack position off the top of the reserve deck. So you're right. Mr. Larson, what was the matchup, if you can tell us? But we are now into Jeff's moves phase after he drains for 5. Jeff with 7 cards, hand and life force. Pat, 11 cards, hand and life force. As we see the command shuttle hop onto the Steadfast, moving over to Tatooine. Captain Moden Kennedy moves down to the docking bay. And the Supremacy will move on over to Dakar, blocking that train. Now, if my math serves me correct, that would put Jeff at 2 cards left, as Pat can drain for 5 this turn. First Order versus Hitko. Yeah, no surprise. So again, Casey wanted Batmouse, and Batmouse did not. He did deliver. As we see, Jeff will keep the Aplac drain going, or Aplac on tip, paying the 1. Cardo also moves over, so there's the drain of 1 at Moss Eisley. After Pat activates everything. There goes a Vic roll from hand. Jeff playing the Resistance. And see a drain of 2 at Halcyon Prime. There goes that I've Lost R2 from Jeff's hand, as well as a Trooper Assault. And we see a drain for 2 at Corellia. Jeff with 2 cards left, as we see Captain PV and a second Coarse and Rough and Irritating both go lost. I think if you're Pat, you move the Outrider to Tatooine. You move Mara Jade to the Cantina. and Talon to the docking bay. And that's it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he just moves up. He moves everybody in front. If he still had the Hujix, I would just leave. Like, I'd move Cornhorn and Lando over. But, I mean, you're not going to see. Actually, you could leave the Luke there, move the Cornhorn and the Lando. Yep, we see Cornhorn move. Lando moves. I mean, Pat can essentially block all the damage this turn. You move Talon in front of Canada, you move Mara to the Cantina, and you move the Outrider to Tatooine. Yep, there goes Town card. Ooh, he's going to leave Mara there. Okay, Pulsar Skate goes to Tatooine. I think you got to move somebody to Car. I mean, you're still going to lose 2, but and he's going to draw. I mean, he's losing 2, so I mean, Pat should win this by 8. Okay, so Jeff activates his 2 force. Now, there is a chance that Pat has the It Could Be Worse in his hand if he knew where it was and drew into it. And I think that's what Jeff is thinking about. The other thing is, and interesting enough, the Menace Phase is no longer in effect. So Jeff is going to get his Force Drain bonuses, but it's only at the Cantina. And Ultimatum's on the table, so the only thing that comes into play there's a Biff Shuffle. Yeah, you're right, Batmouse. He could have the control in his lost pile as well. He's already got 2 on the table. I haven't seen him lose a third one. And Jeff does not drain, so Pat's going to put some cards back. We see there's the Biff Shuffle. Jeff draws a card. Does Pat have any other thing else? And nope. So Pat is going to take game 1 by 9. Well played by both players. Okay, Pat has 18 in his lost pile to 27. And it looks like both players are going to take about a 5-minute break. So I suggest everybody else do the same thing, and we'll come back for game 2. As we will have both players switch up, as Jeff will be on light side against Pat on dark side. Welcome back, everybody. So our players are both set to go for game number 2. Again, this is Pat Johnson versus Jeff Lavigne. Pat ended up winning game 1 by 9 over Jeff. Both players are in the chat and ready to go. The table is up and we are live. So again, thank you all for tuning in as we have game 2 of Jeff Lavigne versus Pat Johnson. And it is a 100%, it is the same match. Here we go. First order versus Watch Your Step. So again, both these players just played the same match. Jeff on first order, Pat on the Watch Your Step. As we see Pat go with the You Know What I've Come For and the Bow to the First Order and Navy of the First Order. Jeff with I Must Be Allowed to Speak, Walkling, and Squadron Assignments. Okay, Pat grabs the finalizer, and we'll see him activate 9. There's the grabber from Jeff. Pat going to get himself a episode 7 battleground. Garrett, we 100% just did this matchup. And that's why I was like, hey, you should come stream this with me. You know, it'd be a lot more fun instead of just hearing me ramble to myself. There's the Supremacy from Pat. He was able to get that into his hand. And there's Lieutenant Destiny 6 going down to Crate. The Supremacy will move over to Dakar. And Pat will play his grabber, as well as his Watch Your Step shield. Jeff pulling out Battle Plan. Pat drawing some cards, and we'll pass turn over to Jeff. Jeff activating 10 Force. And he'll attempt to take Corellia or Kessel into hand from his reserve deck with his objective. As we see, there's the Corellia system. As well as the Moss Eisley from the I Must Be Allowed to Speak and Smuggler's Blues. Jeff will flash. Jeff will reveal Merrick's Direct from his hand to pull the Pulsar Skate going down to Tatooine, giving him a use pile pool. And Kira going down to the control of the Container. That will flip Jeff. And And Jeff will lose a force, stacking a card on the track fleet to move the track fleet from Dakar to crate. As we see, the Pulsar Skate will move from Tatooine to crate. And Jeff will draw some cards, saving one and passing turn over to Pat. Pat activates. Probably not going to see him drain here. As we see, Jeff did play the Battle Plan Shield. And Pat does go straight into his deploy phase. Deploying an Episode 7 Battleground from his reserve deck. Let's see which one he's going to hit. I mean, he's already got... And there's Hossein Prime. So, yep, Pat getting out the Hossein Prime as well as Jeff last game. Now, once the Supremacy, if it's with the track fleet, it will be fully immune to attrition. So even though if Jeff goes and gets and there's the Salt Plateau, even if Jeff is able to get another smuggler up there with the Pulsar Skate, fully immune to attrition, Supremacy is nothing to sneeze at. Keith in the chat trying to be funny, quoting the Star Wars movies. Pat still thinking about what he wants to do this turn. Will he go after Kira? Will he go after the Pulsar Skate? I'm not sure yet. And there's Vickrul going down in front of Kira. Action moves over to Jeff. And action moves back over to Pat, so no barrier on the Vickrul. As we see Kylo Ren with lightsaber go down to the outpost entrance. And that's going to give Pat a use pile pull. And Pat will initiate a battle, and there's the Blastador Kid to exclude both Vickrul and Kira, canceling the battle. The Supremacy will move over to Crate. And Pat will draw some cards, saving 2 and passing turn over to Jeff. So Jeff did have the trick to avoid the battle at the Cantina. And we'll see Jeff utilize Mirrek's Tarek, putting a card back to draw the top card of his reserve deck. And there's the Don't Do That Again shield from Jeff. Jeff attempting to pull an immediate effect, but there is none. Pat with 12 cards in hand to Jeff's 7. And we will see the Outrider get flashed, and the Outrider going down to crate. But there's the barrier from Pat. Jeff will grab that barrier. Theron Net going down to the Outrider as well. As Boshek going down to the Cantina, joining Kira. And we have another battle. Jeff draws a 3 for his first Battle Destiny. And he'll draw a 3 for the second, bringing his total up to 14. Pat draws a 4, bringing his total up to 9, so he's down by 5. I believe Vicril does cover, and Jeff will have to lose one of the 2 smugglers. As Kira will go lost, and Boshek will remain on the table. Jeff, with 4 cards left, goes into his move phase. And we'll just see him draw a card and pass turn over to Pat, saving 3. Pat drains for 2 at the entrance cavern. As we see a Rebel Barrier and Old Ben go lost off the top of Jeff's reserve deck. And Pat, in his control phase, thinking about what he wants to do here. And there's an escape that's going to get him Vicril back into hand. As Vicril will go right back down to the Cantina. It's like he never left. Now, we do know that there is a Blastador Kid in Jeff's lost pile, so if a battle is initiated at the Cantina, Jeff can easily just play that card and cancel the battle. As we see an FN 2003 go down to the Salt Plateau. And Captain Phasma. And that's going to get Pat a use pile pool. And I see Prune Leader Snoke going down to the Cantina. Again, no action from Jeff after each of these characters. Although action is on Jeff at this point, and he is taking some time off the clock thinking about this Snoke. Nope, action will go back, and there's a battle from Pat. Snoke will cause a point of damage to Pat, as we see an All Wings report in and Dark Layer Spin both go loss, or All Wings report in combo go loss off the top of the deck. And Pat will draw Lieutenant Mitka for Destiny. Nothing from... So, no Blast the Door Kid from Jeff. And Jeff draws a 2 for Battle of Destiny. That's going to cost Pat Vickrell. But I do believe that's 6 plus 8. So, that's no overflow for Jeff, though. Or no, I'm sorry, he will have to lose 1 card. He loses, it's a trap. So that will flip Jeff back. And the Supremacy will run away to Dakar. It's going to activate Pat 2 cards. And he'll draw some cards, passing turn over to Jeff. So, interesting to see that Jeff did not use the Blast the Door Kit that he has in his lost pile to cancel that battle. As we see Pat attempt to play Imperial Command to grab a General or Admiral. And he will grab Captain Peavy. Jeff uses his objective. He'll take a look and see what's in his reserve deck at this point. There's an Unita coming out. That's going to get Jeff Boshek back to his hand. And Boshek will go right back down to the Cantina in front of Supreme Leader Snoke, flipping Jeff back. Val coming down as well. Jeff will reveal Han to attempt to deploy the Falcon. And yep, there's the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo going down to Corellia. As we see newest Hall of Famer Brian Fred in the chat. Welcome, Brian. And there's our Menace Fades hitting the table. Now, what's interesting is Menace Fades is not in effect right now, as Jeff does not have control of the battleground site, but Jeff does initiate against Supreme Leader Snoke. As we see a 5 drawn for Destiny. Again, it could be a 2 or a 5. Jeff choosing 5. And a 4, and I believe that is just enough to crack Supreme Leader Snoke's immunity. And there's another Lieutenant Mitka from Pat. And that's going to make Jeff lose Boshek, but he will be able to play the old Ben from his lost pile, bring Boshek back to the table. And Supreme Leader Snoke will have to go lost as well. Jeff goes into his move phase. And now, Menace Fades is in effect. As we see the Millennium Falcon move over to Crate. Jeff will draw some cards and pass turn over to Pat. Pat with 11 cards in his hand to Jeff's 5. And life course counts are pretty high right now. Pat with 28, Jeff with 25. As we see, there's a drain of 1 at the Salt Plateau. As we see, I don't need their scum either. And Core and Horn both go lost to that train. And to the drain at Dakar, Captain Lando Calrissian went lost as well. As there's the finalizer going down to Halcyon Prime with Captain PB aboard, and that is going to suspend Menace Phase. General Hux going on to the ship as well, giving Pat a use pile pool. And Imperial Decree non-V coming out. That's going to turn off all of Jeff's Force Drain bonuses as well. As we see, Pat will go through the steps, go into his move phase. Jeff playing Found Someone You Have. V to retrieve the topmost character into hand. And we'll see him retrieve Coran Horn. Putting Found Someone You Have back into the lost pile. Pat playing the Do They Have a Code Clearance Shield. And Jeff will also use Mirax to put a card back onto into his use pile to draw the top card of his reserve deck. As we see Pat draw some cards. And pass turn over to Jeff. Again, Jeff is only going to be draining for 3 points of damage this turn, as the Imperial Decree is negating the drain bonus from the Millennium Falcon, or the Han Solo V. So there's the drain of 2 at the Cantina. Pat will lose You Know What I Have Come For, and Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle. General Hux taking FN 2199 into hand. There's a drain of 1 at Crate. Pat will lose Sense from his hand as well. And Ellerus Medak going down to the Salt Plateau. Jeff showing Mara Jade to take a look and see what the 5 cards in his reserve deck are. Nia Nub going down in front of Kylo Ren. And Corran Horn going down in front of Captain Phasma and FN 2003. Mara Jade going down in front of Kylo Ren as well. And we have a battle at the Salt Plateau. Jeff draws a 5 for his first Battle Destiny. And a 1 for his second, bringing his total up to 11. Pat will draw a 3, bringing his total up to 11 as well. So we're going to see Ellerus Medak go loss, followed by Captain Phasma. Will we see a battle at the entrance cavern? Yes, we will. Jeff initiates with Nia Nub and Mara Jade. Kylo takes a swing at Nia Nub. Draws a 4 for his first Destiny. And a 5 for the second one. That's going to hit Nia Nub and cause a point of damage. As we see a control tunnel vision go lost. Jeff draws a 6 for his first Destiny. And a 6 for the second one. Wow, bringing his total up to 18. Pat needs to draw a 4 to not take any overflow, and he'll draw a 6. And that's going to clear the site and make it so that Pat doesn't have to take any overflow. So he's just got to lose Kylo Ren, whereas Jeff has to lose both Mara Jade and Nia Nub. Yes, Logan. Yes, it is a 7 because Hux is on the table. Thank you, Logan. Isn't it past your bedtime, young man? So we see Mara Jade and Nia Nub go lost. And Jeff will place the walking out of play, and he will retrieve Nia Nub. You're just jealous that Pittsburgh's a better city than wherever you're at in Wisconsin, young man. So Nia Nub will be retrieved, and we're still in Jeff's move phase at this point. And Jeff goes into his draw phase, draws a card, and will pass turn over to Pat. Pat activates 16. He's got 6 left in his reserve deck. As we see Aplak go down in front of Corran Horn. FN 2199 coming down as well. Captain Moden Kennedy. A First Order Stormtrooper. I believe he drew it for Destiny last turn. So, and Pat will initiate. Up 16-2 in power. The FN will attempt to hit Cornhorn. And we'll draw a 4 for Destiny. I believe that hits because of the First Order Stormtrooper. So Cornhorn is hit. Jeff in the chat saying insult to injury. You're not wrong. As General Hux sits on the finalizer smiling that he actually did something useful for once. Jeff attempting to activate. Or he attempting to take a card with Murex Tarak. Pat draws a 6 for the first Destiny. I'm sorry, a 7, Logan. And a 5, bringing his total up to 28. And Jeff draws a 2 for his Battle Destiny. So Jeff is going to be down by 24. Cornhorn does take up, I believe, 7. So Jeff is going to be down by 17. Does he have the Hujix? He does have the Hujix. Some more Batmouse is asking why are you not playing the Dagobah card that cancels that? Take evasive action. And Pat will draw some cards, pay the 1 for Aplak, and pass turn over to Jeff. Jeff activating 17. He's got 5 left in his reserve deck. Drains for 2 at the Cantina. As we see Imperial Decree B. And Imperial Command both go lost. Drains for 1 at the Crate System. Blast Points V will go lost. Jeff playing Control and Tunnel Vision from hand. That's going to get him any card he needs out of his force pile at this point. Pat will grab that card. As Jeff is thinking about what he wants to take out of his force pile. Jeff has decided he's got 16 cards left in there. And he'll play another interrupt. I don't think he has another control in there. As Jeff is thinking about what he wants to play here. It could be in all wings. I think he's trying to think. Maybe he thought there was a controlled tunnel vision in there, but I'm not sure. And thank you, Mr. Greg, our current world champion, Greg Shaw, for subscribing for 31 months. Yep, there is another controlled tunnel vision in there. He does have to pay the $2 to play it. So Jeff going back into his force pile to take a card into hand. As he will... Oh, he's got a Luke with lightsaber in his hand at this point. Checking out and seeing what his destiny are like. Question now is, where is he going to go with that Luke with lightsaber? He's going to go right down to the Salt Plateau. Luke with Chewbacca to the Salt Plateau. And Jeff will initiate. Pat will retrieve one with Laplac, adding 5 to his power. Luke will attempt to swing at the First Order Stormtrooper, drawing a 6 for Destiny. And the FN 2199 will cancel that, and he'll draw a 2 for the second Destiny. Now that's going to hit the First Order Stormtrooper. You might be able to clear the site here, as Pat is going to play a Tauntaun Skull to add +7 to his power. No, he's going to play and remove Captain Modin Kennedy to add 3 to his power. Not 7, just 3. Action is back on over to Jeff. Again, Jeff getting 1 Battle Destiny here, Pat getting 2. Again, action still remains on Jeff Lavigne at this point. And FN 2199 is going to use the riot stick and swing at Luke, and I believe that's going to miss Luke. Jeff draws a 4 for his Battle Destiny, bringing his total up to 16. Jeff draws a 3. And a 5, bringing his total up to 29. Jeff will be down by 13 with 8 attrition. Pat having to sacrifice 4 from the location, including a forfeit 0 First Order Stormtrooper. As we see Chewbacca goes lost. The First Order Stormtrooper will also go lost. And Luke will soak up the remainder of the damage as Aplak goes lost as well. FN 2199 is holding that Salt Flats as his own location right now. Jeff will draw the remaining 3 cards in his force pile and pass over to Pat. Yeah, the trooper is forfeit, I believe, 3. Yeah. As we see a drain of 3 at Halcyon Prime, a drain of 1 at Dakar, and a drain of 1 at the Salt Plateau, making Jeff lose 5 cards that turn. As we see, he loses Luke with lightsaber. Oh, it is only a drain of 1 at Halcyon Prime. I'm sorry, because because Pat is not flipped. He's not flipped, B. And Pat's going to move the FN Trooper all by himself, not reinforcing him, over to the entrance cavern. And there's a limited resources from Pat! Ria Durant, Nia Nub, I'll Take the Leader, and Malos all go lost. And the killer bees in the chat are going crazy over that limited resources. As Pat will reinforce his hand, drawing up to 14 cards, and passing on over to Jeff. Again, Jeff with only 2 cards in hand at this point. Jeff activates everything but 2. He's got 9 force to work with his turn. He'll drain for 2 at the Cantina. Pat will lose a laser cannon battery. And Relentless Pursuit, both from hand. Drains for 1 at Crate. And we'll see Pat lose a Lieutenant Dolfed Mitka, also known as Lieutenant Destiny 6. Wedge Antilles goes down in front of the FN Trooper, joined by Talon Card. And we have a battle. FN 2199 is going to attempt to slap Wedge, drawing a 3. I believe that misses. Yep, that will miss because of Talon Card. Jeff draws a 6. And a 5 for his Battle Destiny. FN goes to the Lost Pile, followed by the Gick. as we are in Jeff's move phase at this point. Jeff moving the Outrider down to the Salt Plateau. Dash Render hops out. Followed by Theron Net. Jeff saving 2, and we'll pass on over to Pat. Jeff with no cards in his hand at this point. However, Jeff is threatening 8 points of damage on his next turn. Eight because of Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon. Anthony. Pat is in his activate phase, thinking about what he wants to do here. He's only got 10 cards left in his life force at this point. Pat activates all 10. Yeah, unfortunately for Pat, he had to take a -5 penalty because he submitted a light side deck list that only had 59 cards on it, so they gave him a -5 penalty. So essentially, he won game 1 by 4. So even though it says 9, that he won game 1 by 9, that -5 I think is what is unfortunately going to get him. But we shall see. Pat does play the Force Push, putting 2 cards from his hand back into his life force to take 1 card out. There's Cardo going down to the Mos Eisley Cantina. Snoke, it was lost really, really early in the game, Tom. He should be down he should be the bottom card of Pat's lost pile at this point. Kylo Ren going down to the entrance cavern. As we see a tentacle get played. So now Pat only losing 5 damage instead of 9. And there's lateral damage targeting the Millennium Falcon. And the Supremacy will move in front of move to Crate. And again, it is a fully immune Supremacy at this point. Pat Pat going to be taking 4 points of damage. Jeff has no cards in hand, and I think he's just trying to separate Val and Boshek at this point. Jeff going to play an interrupt from his lost pile. Using found somebody he has to take a character into hand. It's going to be Milos. So I stand corrected. Jeff will have a card in his hand at this point. Okay, as we move action on over to to Jeff's turn, he's going to shuffle up Jeff's reserve deck. I don't know. B-Fred, I really don't. Okay, action is on Jeff at this point. He's looking about what he wants to do. He's able to activate, and he's going to activate everything but 3. He's only got 8 cards left in his life force. There, he's draining for 2 at the Cantina. See, Pat loses the Fulminatrix and the Steadfast both from hand. There's a drain of 2 at the Salt Plateau. And as we see, Pat loses a Gravity Shadow and Lieutenant Dolfed Mitka. And we do see that Pat has a first strike in his hand. Life force and hand count is dead even right now at 12. Both players with 12 cards, hand and life. Melas goes in front of Cardo. And Jeff is in his deploy phase. He's back into the tank here. And we have a battle at the entrance cavern. Kylo Ren's going to swing at Wedge Antilles, drawing a 7. And another 7. with Dolfed Mecha going lost. And that's also going to cause a point of damage on Jeff. As we see an All Wings report in go lost. Both players losing a force in that battle, essentially. Jeff draws a 5 for the first Destiny. And a 5 for the second Destiny, bringing his total up to 14. Kylo already covers that, so he's not going to be taking any overflow. And Pat will draw a 4. I like Mitka. Shush. As we see Kylo go lost, Wedge went lost, and Talon Card goes lost as well. Jeff thinking about what he wants to do here. Again, Melos is blocking that drain at Mos Eisley. But will Jeff battle with Melos? Action is on Jeff at this point. Jeff does initiate. Cardo takes a shot at Melos. Draws a 5. That's going to hit Melos. Jeff draws a 4 for Battle Destiny. And action is on Jeff. They pass. The 4 goes through. Pat draws a 5. And Jeff can just Hujix out of this battle. But, oh no, he cannot. So Jeff takes 4 in overflow there. However, I think he just decides that he wants to move away from Crate at this point. So we are in Jeff's move phase at this point. Now he could simply just take the Outrider, put everybody back onto it, and take off. Let's see, what is Jeff going to do at this point? Again, action is on Jeff in his move phase. And interesting enough, lost piles in the last game were 18 for Pat, 27 for Jeff. As we see the Pulsar Skate lands at the entrance cavern. The Outrider with only Dash Rendar takes off. Val moves over to Mos Eisley. Jeff draws a card and will pass on over to Pat. Jeff saying you do not have another character in your hand. We know one of the cards is a first strike. He does save 2 cards in his reserve deck. He pays 3 to drain for 1. There's the first strike. Aim high from Jeff. And Pat will initiate up in space. It's going to cause a point of damage. That's going to put Jeff at 4 cards left in his life force. Jeff will reduce the power for the supremacy by 8. Pat draws a 7 for his Battle Destiny. Jeff draws a 6 for his first Destiny. I believe the next one's a 6 as well. No, it's only a 3. It's going to be 17 to 15 in favor of Jeff. Pat's going to have to lose 2. He will lose Lieutenant Destiny 6. Jeff will lose Han Solo. Pat moves the supremacy over to Gar. No. Be Fred. Tom's right. So right now it's 26 to 31 in favor of Pat. He's down there. Right now, Jeff has 4 in his deck. Pat would win on Lost Piles. Pat will circulate and pass on over to Jeff. Jeff is going to be doing 8 points of damage this turn. And the other thing is, Pat is actually going to be able to drain for 1 more. He has 11 cards total. Yes. Well, then Pat can just move. Well, no, he couldn't have done that. I was going to say he can move somebody from the Supremacy down to the Supremacy Bridge for the Imperial Decree non-V. But yeah, he doesn't have anybody up there. So yes. I think you're right, and I think he's going to be able to drain for 1 more. As we are on Jeff's turn. Jeff is in his activate at this point. Pat playing the secret plans. And Jeff will drain for 2. Actually, I don't know if he has control left, B-Fred. They're both on the grabber. And he's got to lose 1 from hand. That saves Pat with 3 left in his life force to Jeff's 4. And Jeff can only block 1 drain. Holy moly. So again, Jeff now still in his control phase, looking to see what he can do here. Jeff moves on into his deploy phase. And into his move phase. Because right now, if it ended, it would be a tie game. Lost piles are 31 to 34 in favor of Pat. I'm sorry, in favor of Jeff. In the previous game, Pat was up by 9. Yeah, he can't move because of the first strike. As Jeff will pass on over to Pat. Pat activates everything. Pat activates everything, saving 1. And he'll battle. He will not retrieve. Jeff does lose to the first strike. He'll subtract 8 from the Supremacy's power. I think the destiny that he has is a 6. If it is, that gets rid of Dash. Or he can pass, yeah. Yep, that's what he's going to do. He's just going to pass and peel. And Pat Johnson is going to win. So Pat Johnson will now advance over Jeff Lavigne. Insane game, insane finish. Well done by both players. The amount of chess matching is just insane. We know that. We know that now 2 players have advanced to our top 8. Obviously, Pat is in the first slot. He just advanced over Jeff. Earlier tonight, Mr. Anthony Howard advanced over Casey. So we do have our first 2 players into the top 8 with Pat, PMJ, and that mouse. So again, big thank you to everybody for watching tonight as we just update our bracket. Again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. Make sure you guys stick around. I think we have another match coming to you live tomorrow night. It is 1 a.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific. That is Timo Dussel versus Kyle Kruger. They will, the winner of that will advance to play Pat Johnson. So thank you all for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. Everybody take care. Enjoy yourself. Have a good night. And I will see you all later.